It's time to start your life the way it is meant to be. There's only one time when it will be too late, and you don't want to wait for that. This is Now or Never. The choice is yours. Your host is Karen Wright. Today, you're about to meet some amazing people. The stories are not always happy ones, but they define a healing process. Listen with an open mind and an open heart. Now, here is Karen Wright.
Listeners, welcome today. It is March 16th, and I cannot believe we're like 3 months into the new year. Today's show title is called Embrace Your Worth. Have you discovered your own worth? Have you embraced the truth that you're precious, just as you are? Today, I will be speaking with my guest, Stacy Bernal, about being empowered to live your biggest and most badass life. You can leverage change for yourself and others as you journey toward great wholeness and value. Stacy, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It is truly my honor to be with you.
I have been looking forward to every show I look forward to, so don't get me wrong. But when I personally know Stacy and I, we go back, 4 years, 5 years?
At least, yeah.
And so our paths keep crossing, and I watch her and she watches me. She's a powerhouse, and she motivates so many people with what she has accomplished and what she's done. And we're going to learn more about that in just a few minutes. Before we get going, listeners, as always, I want to get grounded. So I invite you to get comfortable and cross your legs, your arms, your hands, and just close your eyes. I invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Another deep breath in and out through your mouth. Now bring your hands up around your shoulders like you're giving yourself a big hug. In fact, give yourself a big hug. Just squeeze your shoulders really tight. Take another deep breath in. And releasing. And repeating 3 times, I am worthy of my love. 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 Take another deep breath in, allowing the air to filter all the way down to your toes. And releasing. And then tapping 3 times with your finger on your chest, the word accept. Accept, accept, accept. Another deep breath in. And releasing. Listeners, I hope as you joined us that you felt just that peace, that you were brought into the moment, into the now, into the forefront of your thoughts, and really feeling what your body was doing, what your breath was doing, and what you were thinking. Did you just allow yourself to concentrate on your breath, on my words? That's the beauty of just taking a couple minutes a day of being able to breathe and allow that breath of life into our bodies. As we continue on, I love our theme for the month of March. It's about gold, finding the gold within each of us and the empowerment that is. All of us are precious in our own way. And as we continue with the show, I love the affirmations, and listeners, I know you guys love that because I get emails from you saying, hey, check this out. I love this affirmation. And today's affirmation, get out your pens, write this down, put on your sticky notes up on your wall, or like me, I write everything on my mirrors. Can never see what my hair is doing, but I know my affirmations. I can tell you that much. But today, Stacy, I will invite you, if you feel good about this, as I read the affirmation, if you will share with our listeners what you thought of, what came to your forefront when I read the affirmation. You good with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Affirmation is, I am radiant health. I am radiant health. So when I read that, what comes to your mind when I say that?
The first thing that came to my mind, and we were just talking about this, is I'm currently training for my 9th marathon. And that resonates with me in terms of what running has done for me, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. And I do feel that sense of, radiant health. And it's this holistic kind of every aspect of my life that changed when I started running marathons. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I feel that. I feel that to my core.
I love that you share that, because as we radiant health, to me, it's every aspect, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, like all of the bodies coming together and being as healthy as we can be as individuals. And we each have that choice to decide if we want to be healthy or not. And if we want to just focus on one aspect of life, or if we want to focus on what we're all completely made of, which is different levels of aspects, the mental, the physical, the spiritual aspect, the emotional aspect. And as you talk about, you said this was your 9th marathon. Will you share with the listeners how you got going with running? I know we're just like jumping the gun right now, but I know this is going to be a part of so my listeners can get to know you a little bit better. And as you're saying that, I'm going to turn off my space heater because I can hear it. So turn this off really quick. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah, I'll just jump in and start sharing a little bit, because running, and certainly running a marathon, has been a huge part of my journey. And as far as talking about embracing our worth, for me, I found a lot of that through that process of physicality. And the way it kind of started for me was in 2008. I was actually working at a local restaurant here in our community, and the restaurant owners had relay teams. They had entries for the Ogden Marathon. So it's the full 26.2 race, but it's divided between a 5-person team. And so they invited / voluntold me that I would be running on a team. And at that point in my life, I was not a runner, and I was pretty terrified of this idea of running. I was running the 7-mile portion of the marathon. And so I started training, and the whole time I was doing it, I was like, after I finish this 7-mile commitment, I will never run again. This is stupid. Why would anyone do this? And so I did that. It was an amazing experience. I thought I was the coolest person for having run 7 miles. And then I went down to the finish line of the Ogden Marathon, and I was watching marathoners crossing, and there was this energy and this magic. And I felt like I want to be in on that magic. I want to do that. So the following year in 2009, I registered and I started training, and I ran my first marathon, and it was a game changer. And I had no idea that day when I did it. Yeah, it was cool. I was like, I could tell, like, I did this really awesome thing. I started the morning as one person. I ran 26.2 miles, and now I'm a different person, but it really, it changed the entire trajectory of my life. So I owe a lot to running.
Running to me is really important. I did one back in Napa in like 95, 97, because I was actually 3 months pregnant with my baby and didn't know it when I ran it. And I loved it. Then I started training for the Portland Marathon and pulled out my sciatic. And it's just like, you have to start making choices and decisions with your health, right? And your body. And if it can't handle the distance, then it's time to try other things. But I love the fact that you felt like you feel the energy at the finish line. You feel the energy running with people, like at the starting line, the whole thing, right? And bringing this into your life. You have led an amazing life. And I love, like, if I read your bio, I mean, you've been on TEDx Talk, you're an author, you're a DI trainer, you've graduated from BA in communications. And I mean, the list goes on. You've got your own autistic founder, Awesome Autistic Ogden. So you're like a founder of a whole foundation, and you're a mom, and you've got 2 wonderful kids, and you're a husband, and you've been on other podcasts and magazines, and the list is like, seriously, you guys, it's 2 pages long. I can't read this whole thing.
I've done a few things here and there.
Yeah, you really have. What I would love to start with, as we're talking about the magic of the marathon, the magic of the energy that is around that, because I understand that and I feel that. I also understand something else that both you and I have done. And we're going to jump right into this. And this is about the book you wrote. So you wrote this wonderful book, and I would love the listeners, I want you to tell them what the book is about, the title of the book, and when you published it, and what drew you to do this? Because there's a beautiful story behind this, and I want my listeners to get to know you just a little bit deeper.
Yeah. The title of the book is The Things We Don't Talk About. And which is so funny, just when people are like, so what's your book about? And I say, it's the things we don't talk about, because what was happening as I started this journey of writing, something would come to mind, and I would be like, oh, I need to get this story down. And I had a small blog at the time when I started writing this. Literally, I had like 5 followers. So I was putting this content out into the world, and I had a friend who was also an author, and he said, you're a great writer, but no one is reading your stuff. And I was like, I know. And he said, stop blogging and start just keeping it, and then consider publishing a book. So I was writing my stories, and a lot of them are around, it was around my own journey, my experiences, and they were heavier topics. They were, I have a history of abuse in my past. I am a birth mom. I got pregnant when I was a junior in high school, and I placed a son for adoption, and other things, lots of other things. But it was the stories about me that defined me over the course of my life. And they kept me small. They kept me quiet, because it's shame. We all have that. I did something bad, or I made a mistake, or I'm a bad person, on and on and on. And we let it dictate really how we show up in the world, where we end up. And I was finding I was never being fully authentic, because I always carried this idea of, if people really knew, if people knew who I was, if they knew about my past, if they knew what I had done, they probably wouldn't like me. And so I don't want people to know. I'm going to keep myself very guarded and keep those dirty, shameful things secrets. And I was finding it very therapeutic to start getting those stories out there. Mm-hmm. And what I was finding was that they didn't disconnect me to people. They actually connected me even more, because I think we have more in common with people than we realize. And so many of us have gone through really similar things. And by sharing it, we make it better. We take the stigma out of these situations. So that's what the book was, a culmination of kind of all of those stories coming together.
And I think it's, like you said, it's freeing, where the world has taught us that we have to be perfect. We have to be a certain way. But we all have our secrets. We all have our skeletons in the closet. We all have things where we've been hurt and we've been lost, and we've done things that have built our character. But yet we're so shameful to share it. And, they say that fear will kick, fear can be a good thing, right? And it's false evidence appearing real. And to me, that is so important, because fear is really that false evidence appearing real. And fear can give us the courage or the bravery to move forward. And I'm sure when your book was about to come out, I love this whole page. We've got tats written on it. You've got this cute little outfit on. Your hair is the purple red color. You've got all this written on you. Knocked up, a hoe. What else do you have on? Like you've got manipulator. I mean, you've got things written on it. And to look at this picture, and when I first saw it, I was like, wow. What courage it took.
Yeah.
And
that was the whole idea behind when I was envisioning what I wanted it to look like. The idea was certainly with the party dress, we can make ourselves look really beautiful and happy and upbeat and positive, and we can present ourselves to the world that way. And underneath, there's hurt and shame and all these things we're trying to mask and cover and hide and keep us from really truly embracing who we are. And so I'm like, I want it to be this combination of both, that we show up and we just bear it all, and it's okay. And we can still be wonderful, amazing people, not only despite those things, but because of those things.
Yes. And I do believe the more you're open, authentic, and raw, the more people will relate to you and have the courage to come forward and be able to speak and talk about what they've been through. I feel like in the last 4 or 5 years, people are opening up to abuse, verbal, emotional, and physical abuse, to loss, to hurt, to, being molested. I mean, whatever aspect. I've had people from all over the board on my show talking about their stories, and we're all in pain. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
We all have experienced some sort of pain, loss, but yet it has brought us up to the next place in life where we can shine and embrace others. And it teaches us more to be, have sympathy, or we're empath. We're, empathy for other people, to help them rise up and become the best version of them at that time, in that moment, in that place. And I'm sure as we're getting ready to go to break here in just a couple minutes, but before, I just want to know what you felt, the emotions you felt when you knew it was going to be published. Like it's going launch. We're launch day. Like, where were you at with that?
I literally was the most terrified I think of ever in my life, because there are stories. In fact, one of my Amazon reviews says, like, I applaud Stacy because there are stories in here that most people would take to their grave. And I told my husband before it came out, I said, I feel like I'm walking around completely naked, because everything that's in that book, I was talking over 30 years of things that had been buried, and I was unearthing them and putting them out into the world. And it was terrifying, but also so rewarding.
Yeah.
So healing.
It is. And I felt that exactly the same way. Like the week before I'm like going, oh my gosh, people are going to be able to read my life story for $22.95. And it's like, and your kids are involved, and, I'm divorced. And so my ex was involved, and, it's not about ever hurting other people. This is about your own personal journey and the way you saw things, the way you handled things. And the book was not written to hurt other people. Just like I know when I read your book, you were very good about being about your emotions and feelings, expressing how you felt and not interpreting what others might have been feeling towards you or at that time, which as an author, it's very, sometimes that can be a little hard to be able to get your message around that whole topic. And as I read your book, I could relate, because I wrote mine after yours, and it was kind of one of those things where you inspired me to move forward with what I was doing. So I appreciate you, Stacy. Listeners, we are going into break, and we'll be right back with Stacy Bernal right after this message.
Okay, great job. We're all clear. Back in about 2.
Okay, thanks. Okay, how you feeling, babes? Good?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I love that grounding at the beginning. Like, that sets such a good tone, because no matter how many of these I do, I always have some nerves at the start. So it's nice to come in and just be like, let's take a minute and
Just like be.
I like that.
Yeah. I think it's really important. I mean, and my listeners or the guests, my past guests have always, most of them said, I needed that, or that really helps. And I think in life, like we're taught even more so now, people are like, just breathe, just breathe. You know, I have a bracelet that says, just breathe on it. Just to remind us the importance of the breath of life. And it is so important. And so many of us do the shallow breathing instead of that deep, just whoosh. I was like, whoosh. I taught my grandson to go whoosh, because I said that a lot, whoosh. And he goes whoosh. And my kids are like, seriously, Mom, what are you teaching? I love it. And it drives them crazy. So that's why I even do it more so, because I don't like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. When we come back, let's go into I want to talk about your 5013, the Badassery Foundation, and kind of how that came to be. And going into your next kind of segment in life with School Foundation and that. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
Things.
It really is. I wish we had some of your pictures that we could show how cute you were. Or you not were, but you are with those pictures you just posted on Facebook. So cute. I love it.
All right, coming back in about 15 seconds.
Okay, thanks.
You are listening to Now or Never. The choice is yours. To connect with the program today, please call us at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is Karen@shinenowornever.com. Let's get back to this week's show. Here again is Karen Wright.
Listeners, welcome back. Today's show is entitled Embrace Your Worth. And my guest today is Stacy Bernal. And right before we went into break, we're talking about her book that she wrote. It's called The Things We Don't Talk About. And I love this because it's literally things you probably want to take to your grave. And she had said something like that too. Like one of her Amazon readers were like, yeah, we would have taken this to the grave. But during the first part of the show, we talked about how freeing that is, about being able to just be who you are. And through all of this, it goes hand in hand with embracing your worth. I mean, to me, the worth isn't all about, like we talked about, the party dresses and putting on the beautiful mask and appearing to be something you wish you were, something that you hope others see you as, instead of what really is underneath the mask and underneath what you have experienced in your life. But in reality, I believe everything that we as individuals experience brings out that beautiful worth inside of us. And as we embrace that worth, you have gone, Stacy, from writing a book to your TED Talk. You were on stage for TEDx, and tell us a little bit about that. How was that whole experience?
That was amazing. And I'm sure that many of your listeners believe in the power of affirmations and manifestation and vision boards. So I had TEDx on my vision board since 2017, and I was applying every year, and then I would get rejected. And it was like, at what point in time do I give up? And they always say it's right when you're about to give up that all of a sudden that thing. So that was exactly what happened for me in 2019. I applied and I didn't get chosen. And then as they were planning 2020's event, the organizers reached out to me and said, we're inviting you. You don't even have to apply. We want you on stage in 2020. And I was like, okay, that's finally. And then the pandemic was happening, and I thought we were going to have to cancel it, but they were able to still hold it. We just did it in a really big venue and just sold like reduced capacity. But it was 4 years in the making to get to that spot. And loved it. That was literally my 15 minutes of fame.
What was your signature talk? What's it about?
It's called Confessions of a Recovering Nobody. And it's right up there with my book title. And because that was a lot of my life. Like, who was I? I was a server and a bartender. I was that person in the background. I was the person refilling your drink, and I was no one. I was not special in any way. And it was that, again, back to finally opening up and showing up authentically and sharing stories and connecting and realizing I do matter. No matter what has happened in my past and those things that I've been ashamed of, they're important. And we all need to be able to show up and share our stories and get a little uncomfortable and brave. And so, yeah, that's my TEDx, Confessions of a Recovering Nobody.
Confession of Recovering Nobody. I love that. And as you listeners are listening, you understand that she's not just a nobody. Stacy has done some amazing things. And one thing I love about Stacy is that you have a son with autism. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that journey, and then what led you to that foundation, Awesome Autistic Ogden.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually going through a divorce from his dad when he got his diagnosis. And so there was the kind of the stress and trauma of going through a divorce and then getting the diagnosis on top of it, and then moving into that world as a single parent. And I did not know what to do. And I think most people, when we get this type of diagnosis with our children, we don't know. There's no manual that says, here you go, here's how the rest of your life is going to look, and here's what you're going to need to do. And with parenting in general,
right,
we never know. We never know what we're getting. And so I was terrified. I was worried about how I was going to be able to afford anything. I was worried about how the world treats him, because he is treated differently, because he is different. And it's been a long journey of figuring out the alphabet soup of the school system. And so there's, as you know, any parent who has a disabled child knows that we have this individualized education plans. We have an IEP, and you have tons of meetings, and you just really kind of figure things out as you go. And definitely as he gets older, because now he's almost 17, now the concern is what happens when he ages out of the school system, because resources really fall off. And for us, what we kind of decided to do was, a few years ago, we started an autism event in the community. And it started out really small. We just wanted to do like an autism walk. So we did that in 2018, and we had about 20 people that showed up. And it was, raise awareness about autism in Ogden. And then in 2019, I actually put a lot of time and effort into planning an event, and we had held it up at the campus at Weber State University, and we had about 300 people that came through that event. So we knew, and people were telling us, this is important, and we need this in our community. And so actually right now, we are planning our events for next month. So anyone who wants to find us, we're on Facebook. But yeah, our mission is, we want to make our community and the world a safer, more inclusive space for neurodiverse, autistic, and disabled people. So that's our mission.
Let's talk a little bit about the event coming up in April, because I just found out from the Realtors Board, because I'm on it for, so heart to, what is it called? Have a heart. So so we were talking about our meeting last month. I'm like going, oh my gosh, and I know Stacy and and this is going to be great. So let's do a shout out right now for our listeners.
So the whole month of April is Autism Awareness Month, but in Ogden, we call it Autism Appreciation Month. And in the past, it's just been like a one-day event where we just come together and celebrate neurodiversity in our community. For this year and for next month, we're doing 4 different events throughout the whole month. And so on the first, we're doing an autistic art stroll at the Monarch. So we're featuring student artwork. And then on the second, we're doing a fundraiser. We did the same fundraiser last year. It's at the Daily Rise on Washington Boulevard. The Daily Rise is so wonderful to support us in this. And I have 2 realtors, actually, Sarah Schleen and Crystal Gillen. I forget she goes by. Sorry, Crystal, I'm messing up your name, her hyphenated last name. but they're also sponsoring the event. And so this year, the funds raised from that will go to the family of Izzy Tishanor. She is a young Black autistic girl who died by suicide last year. And then on the 16th is kind of the big community event, and that will be at Enable Utah in Ogden. And we have, right now I have 27 vendors confirmed. We have 3 food trucks. We have a petting zoo. We have characters that are showing up. So it's going to be amazing and just a free, inclusive, wonderful event. We want the community to come out and learn about autism, learn about neurodiversity, learn about disability, learn about people who are different, and learn what you can do to be kind, to be understanding of people like that. And then on the 21st, we're doing a Zoom with Ogden Police Department to talk about what efforts they're doing around disabled and neurodiverse people in the community.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm coming. I'll be on the one on the 16th. I'm coming to that one for sure. I've already volunteered. I'm like, yeah, we've got a booth. We're there. So I'm excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be part of that. And it's exciting to learn and grow about things you don't really know about. And supporting that. And I know when I talked to you shortly after that, the young girl committed suicide, and that led you into another journey, another path, or it's not even another path, but just another direction that you are going even deeper to help with autism. Because I know that really, that affected you. I mean, I've lost my daughter, and she had seizures, and so she had learning disabilities. And so when you're talking about the IEP, you're talking about the school systems, the whole thing. Like, I totally relate with you with all of that, because it's a hands-on 24/7 parent, teacher, and the child and the staff at the school. And school districts are not set up to help the learning process, along with the other process with learning behavior problems in the school district. So there's a lot to it, and you're concerned with what's next for your son and going on. Do you do a trade school? What do you like to do? How can we get him out into the environment? And that was my husband at the time, our concern with our daughter at the age of 18. And now she's watching over us because she passed away, and we didn't have to go the next journey forward. But when you told me about this girl who basically was bullied, is this correct?
Yes.
Because she was different.
Yes.
And I want you just to share a little bit, because I know our listeners are going to feel this.
Yeah, it made national news. So it was not in my school district, but it's the school district neighboring ours. And so it's still very close to our community. And it also, in the same school district, the Department of Justice had just done a 3-year investigation and found years of incidents of racism in the school district. And so there were already issues happening. And then this young student, she was 10 years old, because she was Black and because she was autistic. And so, that intersectionality of differences made her a target. And it wasn't just the students, it was the students, but it was also the teacher. The teacher was saying mean things to her and treating her differently, and she felt that. And I have now become friends with the mom, and I've told her that, part of the reason I'm running for school board is because I was so touched and impacted by this young girl's death. And my son, over the years, has had suicidal ideation as well. And there's actually research that shows that people who identify as autistic have higher rates of suicidal ideation, and autistic women have higher rates of suicide. And so I'm really passionate about protecting these people even more, because I see how the world treats my son. I see how the world treats people who are different. I know that even with law enforcement, and this is not to say anything negative about law enforcement, but also research shows that disabled people do tend to end up dying more in interactions with law enforcement. So I'm seeing all of this stuff happening in the world, and I was just feeling so helpless and sad after hearing that girl's story. And I thought, what can I do? Like, what can I do? I can't save the pain that this family is going through. I can't help save this girl from what happened. But could I do something where I could potentially change a future outcome somewhere? And it really was like, when the universe kind of nudges you, when something crosses your path and says, hey, here's where you're supposed to go. And it was so strong that it was like this epiphany. I went up to a trailhead one night and I cried. I just was crying and yelling and so angry. And I came home and I told my husband, I think I need to run for school board. I think like that is what I'm really being pushed by the energies, by the universe is telling me this is what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you can't mess with that at all, because the universe is going to keep pushing you until you do that. And that's what I love about the universe. When doors open up, you see the opportunity to step forward. And Stacy, you're the type that steps through that door, where a lot of us are like, shut the door, shut the door, shut the door, and we're in the opposite direction. And I've had some just experiences like you have, where the universe has told me, you've got to do this. And it's amazing how things open up, doors open up, people fall into line, and people are supporting you and following your dreams and helping you accomplish what you've set out to do. And I guarantee you've got the whole city of Ogden, the whole surrounding area supporting you with your mission and your goal. And as you go into this, we have a couple minutes. I want to just touch base really quick about going onto the school board. What exactly, what are the details with it? Like, what is your campaign? What are you, I would love to hear it.
Yeah. So it is an elected position. So I have to run a campaign. The election is not until November 8th. And so I think basically I put a timer on my phone yesterday. I have 236 days. And the only people who can vote for me are people in my school district. So in my particular area. So any listeners out there, if you're in District 2 for Ogden School Board, I'm your person. So my campaign, again, because I'm a runner, and as I'm training for the Ogden Marathon. So my hashtag is See Stacy Run 2022. And because I'm running for school board, I'm running around town, I'm running the Ogden Marathon. And my slogan is that I will go the extra mile for Ogden School District students, teachers, and parents. And I have a degree in public relations and advertising. So I'm like, this is what I was meant to do. Running a campaign and doing all these fun. I've been doing all my graphics and getting all my marketing stuff together. And I'm like, this is exciting. This is totally my jam.
Well, because you're bringing the creative side into it, and you've got your purpose, and with purpose comes passion, and passion is your purpose. I mean, once you know the purpose, and the passion is right there, or vice versa. To me, they just, the two P's, they go hand in hand with what you're doing. And I love that. See Stacy Run. It's like See Stacy Speak, See Stacy Run 2022, and bring it all together and going the extra mile. How important that is in life in general, going the extra mile. And I love the fact that you're bringing in all aspects of health into this whole election thing. Happy November 8th. Listeners, we are going to go into break, but stay tuned. When we come back, we'll talk more and a little bit deeper with Stacy Bernal. We'll be right back after this message.
All right, good segment, all clear.
Hey, I love that. Go the extra mile. That's all about you.
Yeah, I'll have to, I got to show you my cute little card real quick.
Okay, I want to see it.
So next Thursday, there's a meet the candidate night at Weber State. And I'm like, ooh, what can I pass out? So I've got these, Stacy Bernal will go the extra mile.
I love that.
Yeah, put gum on it. But even when you take off the gum, it still has the extra on it. And then on the back, it's got my pillars of what matters to me. And so
I love that
when people can, yeah.
So what time next Thursday is it at?
It's at from 6 to 8 in the Shepherd Union at Weber State.
Okay. And so it's just people in your District 2, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know what district I'm in anymore because I've moved from where my kids went to school.
Well, and they just changed too. So they're different.
Okay. How do we find out what district we're in?
They're on the website for Ogden School District, but for mine, it's 12th Street North to 2nd and over to Wall. So it's kind of that.
Okay, so you're the northern part.
Mhm.
Freak, I'm in southern. South.
Yeah. Dang it.
But hey, if you need help with anything, let me know. I'll come and
Yeah.
knock
I know
on doors.
There's lots of different ways that people can help. So,
Well, let's talk about that when we come in.
okay.
And that, and then how people can get a hold of you. And how people can, because you're always taking donations for foundation, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So we come
Wait,
back.
10 seconds.
Okay. We'll do that if that's okay.
This is the Voice America Empowerment Channel.
You are listening to Now or Never. The choice is yours. To connect with the program today, please call us at 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. If you'd rather send an email, the address is Karen@shinenowornever.com. Let's get back to this week's show. Here again is Karen Wright.
Listeners, welcome back to Now or Never. The choice is yours. Before we went into break, we were talking about with Stacy Bernal, our guest today, and she is a powerhouse. And I just hope you listeners that you are taking note of every way you can help and reach out to her, support her in her mission and what she's doing. We talked a little bit about her book, the things we don't talk about. And it was Stacy's life story. And as always, the last segment of my show is always sponsored by my book, Now or Never, Shine Baby Shine. So you can find my book on Amazon, and just a kudos, a shout out about my book. It actually is on Audible, came out this week on Audible. So it's been a year ago, March 19th, when I launched this book. And I'm just so happy now that it's a year later. You can get it on paperback, Amazon, Kindle, whatever, and now you can get it on Audible. So I just want to say, I bought it just to listen to my story. And it's so surreal and so like, it's just crazy. It's crazy because you listen, Stacy, you and I have been talking how you like put everything out there and how you just open up your world. And you felt the universe, like things in your life, you felt the universe. And with this book, this was a thing that the universe called me to do. My daughter, Kalina, who passed away, she was pushing me to get this done. And it was one of those things that I just knew with the writing of losing, as a parent, losing your child, and hopefully helping other people be able to endure, but find the joy in what your experiences have had on you, and be able to heal from that, and finding that there is a light that can be reignited again and start shining forth, and helping other parents go through. And my whole book is to help parents, other people who've not just about the loss of the child, but the loss and divorce. And Stacy, you've experienced that, the loss of parents, the loss of a sibling. I mean, I've experienced so much loss in my life that it's, I feel for others. And actually listening to the Audible took on a whole different aspect when you actually are listening to the words and you're feeling the emotion that the author, the reader, I hired a reader, and her expression, it was surreal. Like it really touched me. It was crazy. So anyway, as we continue on, I love Stacy, and Stacy has so much information. And if you at this time, listeners, get out your pen and pencil, write down how you can get a hold of Stacy, because she's going to share all that information. I want you to make sure if people want to send money into your foundation, how they can do that, the whole thing. So time is yours.
Yes. Before I do that, I want to say congratulations to you on your year anniversary and your Audible. I recorded my own Audible, and I also listened to it. And, when you listen to your own voice, you're like, oh, So that's so cool that you got to, it is different when you hear your own story.
It is really different. Yeah, I didn't have the courage to do it, to do the entire book. Like I did the shout outs and the acknowledgements. And then I thought I need someone that can captivate with this. And the reader did an amazing job. I just, I'm like you, I would have listened to it going, oh my gosh, it's my voice.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So it's usually when I do an interview, I'm like, oh, please go to See Stacy Speak, find all my stuff and See Stacy Speak, which is still true. I still have, I mean, that's my website is See Stacy Speak. I still have my Facebook and Instagram or See Stacy Speak, but now I also have Stacy Bernal for School Board. And that's also a big, so if you want to find me, you can find me on either of those places and platforms on Facebook and Instagram. I have my business professional side, which is my See Stacy Speak. And then my Stacy Bernal for School Board is my all my school board stuff, and it's the number 4. So if anyone wants to find me there, for our nonprofit, our Venmo, that anyone can, we take donations all year long. We do fundraisers throughout the year, but if anyone wants to make a donation anytime, what we do with our funds is we help autistic young adults who are starting their own businesses or have some other type of expense come up. So yeah, we've been able to, it's been really cool to know that we're helping these people who are trying to figure out their own life's path. And things do look very different for them. They don't traditionally go to four-year colleges. They don't traditionally hold 9-to-5 jobs. And when they do get employed, they tend to be underpaid. So we just want to help them in being entrepreneurs and building their own business. So that is, our Venmo is BBF 501c3. So that stands for Bernal Badassery Foundation. So just remember BBF 501c3. That's our Venmo for that. And what else? What am I forgetting?
They can get your book on Amazon.
Yes.
And Audible.
Amazon, Audible, and Audible.
And yeah, that's a lot. I love it.
Yeah, I feel like if you Google me, you'll probably find way more than you ever.
Which is amazing. And that's what I want my listeners to be able to do. And I love the fact that you have a foundation. I love what your foundation does, because how important is that for, people moving on with life? Like if they're entrepreneurs, what are their businesses? Are there any businesses that stand out that you're just like, oh my gosh, this is pretty cool, that any of them have done? I know I'm putting you on the spot here.
So what's great is 2 of them are actually going to be their vendors at our event this year. So you'll be able to see their products. One of them makes these dolls, and they're super eclectic. They're very, very unique, and they're very labor intensive. So they have like these plastic heads, and he molds every single individual head, and he hand paints the faces on every single one. And then he sews them onto the body. And yeah, they're pretty amazing. So we helped him build his website so that he could have an e-commerce. Yes, so he'll have a table at Awesome Autistic Ogden, and so excited. Hopefully he sells lots of his dolls. And then we have a young woman who, she upcycles clothing. And so she'll get a piece of clothing that's been previously worn, and then she adds her own creative touch to it. So she'll either print her own artwork onto it, or she'll embroider a design on it. But she does something to just take something that maybe needs a second life, and she breathes that second life into it, and then she sells it. And her stuff's really affordable. I bought a hoodie that she made, and it's like my favorite. It's this cute pink hoodie. But yeah, just cool people in our community. And we have a guy this year who he does origami art. So he's bringing some ninja stars. And I actually didn't know this. His mom emailed me when she heard about this year's event, and she wanted to have her son involved. And she told me, we actually came to your event in 2019. And yeah, and I'm like, that just really touched me, because sometimes we get into we just get busy and we're just doing our thing, and we feel like we're spinning in a hamster wheel. And are we actually really even doing anything? Are we making any changes? Are we impacting? And I feel that a lot. Like, I don't know if I'm doing anything to make this world a better place. And so to get that validation, to have someone reach out and say, we came to your event 3 years ago and here's where we are now. And here's how you've helped us. And I'm like, that's cool.
It is
pretty fun.
It is pretty fun. And I totally understand what you're saying, because I've been going through that where it's like, am I making difference? Is it going anywhere? What am I doing? Like spinning the wheel, going round, 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 going, because there's no really gold at the end of the tunnel, right? There's no rainbow at the end of the pot. Like we're trying to find this gold and we're like going, why don't we just keep going on the rainbow, going around, doing the whole thing. But I think it's important. And I know it's not all about validation, but it does help. It does help knowing that it's like the show, knowing that my listeners out there and I get feedback and stuff. I'm like, oh, good, I touched one person this week, or, 200 or 2000. Like it's been amazing. But as we continue on with the show, I would love you to share, how can someone discover their worth? What advice would you give them to get started on discovering their worth?
So I share this story about how pearls are made, right? So if you are not familiar, basically a grain of sand will get into the mollusk and it irritates the insides. And so the mollusk, in an effort to protect itself from that irritant, that thing that's bothering it, it creates this film of mother of pearl that just coats over and over and over around that grain of sand. So that when we crack open an oyster and we see those pearls in there, they actually started out as a negative thing. They started out as this bad, uncomfortable thing, but now they've turned into something beautiful. And I tell people, those things about ourselves that we maybe think take us down a notch and they determine our worth, and maybe we think they're not beautiful and worthy. Those things are beautiful. They do make us beautiful. We are worthy. And to go back to kind of not really ever knowing what impact we're making, I spoke at an event in 2018 that is an event for survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And I was the keynote speaker at that event. And it was one of the first times I had publicly shared my story. And so again, you can imagine that was pretty terrifying to do that. So I spoke at that event. Everything else that's happened in the past few years, I didn't really think much of it. Last year in 2021, at that same event, the keynote speaker was a man. And he got up and he was talking about his journey with childhood sexual abuse and being a survivor, and how he did not tell anyone for most of his life, but that he had come to that fundraiser in 2018 and he heard my story. And he said that night, he told his wife, I need to tell you something. So he shared that story last year, and I just cried. I thought, I had no idea that this person was in that room and that my story impacted him. And now it changed his journey. And now he's up there and he's helping other people. He's sharing his story and it will impact other people. So I just embrace that and know, you are worthy.
And as you're saying that, I'm like tearing up. I'm over here going, oh my gosh, like I'm feeling,
All right, great job. We're all clear.
okay, thanks.
All right, you both have a great rest of your day.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Mhm.
Sorry, that was I'm like in tears going, I can't even end the show. I'm like, what the freak? I hate that, but I love what you said, because that's so empowering what you said. And I appreciate that. Like, I feel that you don't know the changes that you make. And when you hear stuff like that, you're like, oh my gosh, that's why we do what we do.
Yep.
Because you touch one person, it's like in the rippling effect. You throw the rock in the water and it just ripples out. And good or bad, the ripple goes. And so what you're doing is amazing. So
You
I
too.
love
You too.
thanks.
So proud of you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You're such a good role model for me.
You are a light. You are a light in the world.
Oh, thank you. Well, thanks for being on the show, babes. We'll have the link to this and we'll send it out to you. And do you have any other questions or anything? I'm so excited. So I will be at the
Yay,
event.
I'm so glad you'll be there. It's going to be so much fun.
I know, I'm so excited. And it was like even more so when I was listening to her talk. I'm like, oh, well, that's Stacy. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to do this. And it's like, I'm branching out, Stacy. I'm getting out of my comfort zone and going and doing things, which is good for me. That's kind of like where I'm at in my life right now. It's like, it's time. So
good. Well, I'll be happy to see you.
I'll be happy to see you. Let me know if I can do anything for you, like anything. Okay.
I will.
If you want me to promote stuff that you're sharing on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff with election, like, I don't know, even though I'm not in your district, doesn't matter. It's just different platforms.
Yeah. Because you know people who are in my district. So
that'd be great. Hey, well, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too, Karen.
Okay, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.